Oh, good morning. Hey, bud. Hope everyone's doing well this morning, or day, or wherever you're watching this. Hey, bud. You can see Otto and I are just getting up. It's actually a sunny day today, which is nice. It was rainy all day yesterday. We got a lot of rain yesterday. And last night, because things were still wet. So today we're going to talk about a few things. This is the regular vlog. I'm not going to say daily because I don't know if I can promise that, but it's going to be a regular vlog hosted by Permaculture. I'm just going to take you in my backyard and show you around, and when I'm going to other sites that I manage, I'll also show you that. If you like what you're seeing and you enjoy it, please like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me along this YouTube journey I'm taking. You can do that in that bottom right hand side of the screen there. Today we're going to talk about the difference between dirt and soil once we get going. But first we got to check on the chickens and do our couple of chores. So let's get going. Good morning, bud. Good morning. Some nice fresh grain here. How's everyone doing? Let's check in. Hey, mama. Let's hold you this morning. Oh, yeah, mama. This is my mama. She likes to cuddle. She likes to put her little head across my leg and yeah, I've never seen it before. First time I've ever seen this with chicken, but she just likes to be right here. She like nestles into my leg and just really enjoys it. You see that? She's not moving at all. She's not scared. I'm not doing anything. She just likes to be rubbed. This is what's nice when you raise chicks from a young age without a mama, without a hen raising them. If a hen's raising them, they're going to be more kind of chicken behavior. Like if you're raising them like from chicks or anything like that, and you interact with them a lot as a child, this is kind of the results you can get. They can become like a little pet. Very sweet. All right, so we checked their food. Gave them some new food. Oh. Rooster and other mama don't really want to get along. Checking the water. Plenty. I've shown this before, but just in case you guys haven't seen it yet. This is my chicken watering system right here. So it's just it's a 2-gallon bucket. I've installed these, what they call poultry nipples, which is a pretty funny name for them, I think. When they arrived, Katie was like, what the hell's a poultry nipple? So it's this little thing, you just basically drill a hole, and then there's pipe threads on the other side of this. And so that just threads right onto that hole you drill. And then this little guy right here, if you touch it, at the end of this little metal rod, there's a small little O-ring. So when you push it, it releases the water out. So instead of the chickens going into like an open watering system where they're apt to, they're very likely to get it all dirty, cleaning off their beaks and everything. Here, this is all they're hitting, and they're not actually accessing that water directly with their beaks. It's actually coming out from the water source. So this helps keep the water very clean for a much longer period of time, and reduces the water waste because I don't have to refill it every single day because they muck up the water. So really like this system. Here's the mamas. Rooster and my mama. Here's Katie's mama. Yeah. Hey, chickies. They're like, what are you doing talking to us? All right. Keep this train going. So getting into the difference between dirt and soil, first I just want to ask, have you guys think about that. What do you think the difference between dirt is and soil? Is there a difference? If there is, what is it? It can't be that big, right? Well, to start off, we got to figure out what's actually in soil or dirt. And that's basically what the parent material is. What's really the main. There's always a mix. So dirt / soil is a mix of minerals: sand, silt, and clay. That's in the order of size from biggest to smallest. So sand particles are the biggest, followed by silt, followed by clay. Clay is the smallest, and so that's why clay soils don't drain as well, because it's a very small particle. And if you have a lot of clay, all those small particles get together and it just makes it slower to drain, versus in sand, which is the biggest, has a big pore space comparatively, very small still, but comparatively much bigger. And that allows much more free drainage. So almost all dirt or soil is a mixture of all these elements, or it is always a mixture of sand, silt, and clay. That's the three main minerals that you're looking at in your soil. So what's the difference then between dirt and soil? Well, let's just take a look at some decent soil, and then the soil I have here will begin to answer that a little bit. I want to show you here this is my parent material. And this is really good because this is a recent I dug this as a small diversion drain, because here in the wet tropics, I live in a rainforest climate where we get usually over 100 inches of rain a year. We get a lot of rain. So I need to think about actually draining the soil more than I have to think about holding water in the soil. So it's kind of different than most. But this is my parent material here. This is mainly clay, but it actually has pretty decent structure. You can see there's a bunch of organic material in there. There's some old plant roots there, a bunch of random stuff. There is some sand in here as well. Little sand particles, little small gravel particles. And that's mainly because everything here is mostly clay, especially on my site, but this backyard, a lot of it I found is fill. It's fill from when they built the house. Originally, clearly, it just, there's a lot of fill in here, you can just tell. But also with the slope that I'm on, this is like a depository area. So if you're on like a high hill crest, you're likely going to be more in an eroding sense. But here it's a nice gentle slope. So as the water flows and brings down minerals from above, we're actually going to be collecting it here. So we actually do have a little bit of sand grains and some small pebbles and rocks, and that helps with the drainage in this soil. But you can look here; it's an okay color. It's there's lots of kind of pore spaces in there. It doesn't look like when you first grab it, it's like, ooh, that's just gonna be a big old clump, right? But really, if you work through there's that first little break. It breaks super easy. There's some structure to it, even though it's a little bit wet because it's been raining. There's structure to this soil. It wants to stay together in its little form. You can see there's little plant roots going through here. Lots of space. I see lots of organic matter. And this color is mostly the color of the parent material, the parent clay here. It's like this red clay. So that's part of it. But after that, the darker you go, the better, to a degree. But the main difference between dirt and soil is dirt is simply those parent materials, sand, silt, and clay. So let's think about now not just the sand, silt, clay, the three minerals that make up dirt. What's the difference between that then and soil? Well, in soil, as you can kind of start to see there, it's that same parent material. It's still that same kind of reddish brown clay clumpiness that's has a little bit of fine pebbles in it, like we just saw over there. But there's also lots more organic matter. So that's the first thing. Dirt is sand, silt, clay. It's the mineral makeup of the soil. But it's devoid of organic material, and it's devoid of soil organisms. So here, in this handful, this is in our garden bed that I've actually been actively building soil. And if you look in there, you can start to see a much darker color, a lot more small little leaf bits and small grass bits, lots of small little bits of organic material from various composts I've applied here. And I can actually see, you can't see it, but there's a tiny little white kind of caterpillary little bug in there running around. So there we go, there's the third one, organisms. Now we can't see most of the organisms without a microscope because most of them are very, very small. Bacteria, fungi, the protozoa, which feed on the bacteria, amoebas, flagellates, ciliates, and then the nematodes, which feed on both bacteria and fungi. It's the organisms that make the difference. The organisms take the minerals, the sand, silt, and the clay, and they start breaking them down, especially the bacteria, but fungi do this also. Starts breaking it down into forms that are much more usable by plants. But just the bacteria plus your parent material isn't quite going to cut it. You also need that second level, the predators of the bacteria and the fungi. And that's that second step there, the protozoa, the amoeba, the flagellates, the ciliates, the nematodes. Those predators eating those primary bacteria and fungi, that's what makes plant nutrients available from your soil. There's a study in 2003, I believe it was, that actually it measured the median amount of minerals in the soils globally. And it found that every soil or dirt, if there was a lack of organisms and organic matter, it found that all the minerals that plants need are present in every soil across the world, with very, very few exceptions. Another thing you need to think about is mulching. So the soil is basically another organism you need to feed, and I think there's a quote, and I'm not going to get this right, but basically I think the quote, it can be summed up as soil is basically a huge mouth. You need to keep feeding your soil. You need to keep mulching your soil and having organic material on the soil so that the biota within the soil can start to come up and start feeding on all this. It feeds on the parent materials within the soil, but it loves organic matter. The main thing that the plants feed on is that organic matter, and once that fungi network gets through there, it can really start breaking down much more of those minerals. But primarily the organic matter, that's what the plants are going to be feeding on and living in throughout those soil. So you can see here I mulch my soil pretty heavily. I don't really want to see bare soil, and actually am seeing it in a few places here because I just replaced this yesterday and I didn't do a great job. But that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect, guys. You don't have to get this right. You just need to start thinking about it. Back to the difference between dirt and soil. Let's check out another place here. So if you just have dirt, you're going to have a lot of issues with erosion because nothing's holding, there's no soil structure. The organisms are what gives the soil structure. So if you have a lack of organisms, you have a lack of soil structure, which basically means that erosion is essentially going to be a given. Also, without soil structure, you don't have any water retention. If you just have that parent material, water's going to fall on it, it's going to get compacted really quickly and it's just going to run off. There's no way to clean that through the natural soil processes. So it's really important to focus on the soil bit, building your soil. Healthy soil, it builds soil structure. It allows air space and pore space within the soil so water can get through and air can get through and the whole soil ecosystem can breathe. It also retains nutrients. So those nutrients that are pulled from the organic material, from the parent material, those minerals in the soil, having those organisms within the soil, they help retain those nutrients because you have all that biology that is built off of the nitrogen in the soil and the phosphorus and the potassium and everything that's in that soil. They need that too. And then as these populations grow, that's essentially you're holding those nutrients in the soil. So the more biology you have, the more that soil can hold those nutrients. Another thing it does is help with water retention. 1% increase in soil organic matter in an acre can add 25,000 gallons of water storage and water holding capacity. That's just a 1% increase. If you get that up a lot, you start seeing how much water you can actually be holding within your soil and within your property, and that helps with drought stress. If you do, it kind of reduces the potential of drought. It also reduces the potential of flood. Because if your soil can hold water, it's not just going to run off. And so it's all about those things. And that water that is held, it's actually filtered through the natural biological processes within the soil. So you're actually cleaning that water too that comes and hits your property. So if you have a lot of, potentially not so great chemicals coming in from your property, maybe from a different property next door or anything like that, and you're a little bit worried about the water, you actually help clean the water by having this biology in place. So that's soil. Soil does all that work for you. So really focusing on the soil and focusing on building the soil, so the most important things you can do in your backyard, in your garden, even if you're not growing crops, if you're just growing beautiful ornamentals or for cut flowers or anything like that, having that beneficial soil is such a hugely important part. It's probably one of the best things that humans can do for this earth is to focus on keeping a healthy soil ecosystem. And that's what we're about here, and that's what I'm trying to teach you here. So this is basically an area where I just prepped. I had the chickens come in here. I just created this bed, and the first thing I did was loosen up the soil. So soil has a tendency over time, especially if you're walking on a log, to compact. So you want to loosen that up to allow those organisms to penetrate a little bit deeper down. So if you have really compacted soil, if you can't take a garden fork and just stick it right down into your soil, you have a compaction problem immediately already. Most places already have a compaction problem because this isn't really thought about. But once you get those soil organisms in there, they help with that. They're going to help keep that soil nice and loose and fluffy. Another thing that's important just to note is try not to walk on your soil in the areas where you're actually kind of actively building it. Because the more you walk on it, the more you compact it, and the more you make it harder for those soil organisms to thrive. So what I have here is actually 2 tiles, and I just laid them right here in the middle of this bed so I can walk in here and access everything. This is kind of called a keyhole style garden bed, where instead of having one row in here where I walk down, I have a bed here and I have a bed here. I actually just have a small little jut in where I can walk in, access everything around me without having to step on it, and then I can get off. So I'm compacting right here where I'm standing, but I want to be able to stand here. So actually it's kind of okay if I compact it a little bit, because I'm choosing this area to be my compaction zone and this area to be my nice loose soil zone where I'm building soil. Here I do have the soil completely covered by mulch, and I have seeded it with various things which are starting to come up, especially the sunflower. That's the first thing that wanted to pop up for me, which is great. Fine by me. Very happy about it. I also have a little watermelon here, and I have a melon growing over there. We'll see how that goes. So to recap, dirt. Think about it. What is it? What's dirt? It's just the mineral material within the soil. If you have dirt and you don't have the organisms, you need to add all those fertilizers, all those inorganic chemicals that Monsanto and all the other big ag companies say that you need to add to soil in order to have soil that's capable of growing food. That's not true. You're just lacking the organisms. So dirt is just that parent material, the minerals, sand, silt, and clay, and that's it. A lack of organic material and a lack of organisms, the aerobic organisms in the soil. In the dirt, I should say there. Soil is the parent materials, the dirt, that same exact base, sand, silt, clay, plus organic material that the biota can feed on and help add to the soil, and organisms, aerobic organisms specifically. Not the anaerobic ones that can potentially cause problems, but aerobic organisms. Now I am talking a lot about, I'm focusing on soil where you're growing food, soil that you have in your backyard, soil that you can manage. Anyone can do this. It's not hard. It's basically all you really need to do is add organic material by mulching or throwing food scraps somewhere or anything like that, and then making sure you have the right biology and encouraging that biology to develop. It will develop on its own if you try hard enough and you wait long enough, but you can jumpstart that with a really high quality compost right on the garden. If you want to do one step further, you can take that compost or purchase compost extract. Compost extract is basically a high quality compost, and then you just extract all of the actual biology within that compost into water, and then you use that and you just dump it on your soil. So you have all those organisms within the water, and you pour that on your soil, and that just instantly allows those organisms to penetrate nice and deep as the water filters down through all those pore spaces within your soil, if you have the pore spaces in your soil. So yeah, basically that's the gist of it. Dirt, lacking organic material, and organisms. That's the only difference. You can take dirt and you can turn it into soil in very little time. And you can take that soil and you can grow food and kind of begin to build your own food security, which is really, if you start to have food security, if you start to have food production in your backyard, which is possible anywhere, then life starts to become a little easier, a little more easy to enjoy. You don't have to worry so much about feeding your family. If you couple that with a little bit of rainwater collection, and you have a water supply that you don't have to really worry about, it's starting to get even better. So you kind of see how it starts there. If you start with the soil, you start building soil, and you start getting that soil ready to actually produce for you, and you protect it. And it's just about caring for, just like an animal. If you treat the soil like a pet, and I know that sounds kind of silly, right, Nick? The soil's not a pet, it's just a bunch of organisms down there. But if you treat it like a pet and you give it a safe place to stay, enough water but not too much water, enough food in the form of mulch and organic material, and enough love by just making sure, oh, you're a little low and need some friends, let me add some friends, let's bring in some compost, let's bring in some extra biology for you. If you really treat it like that and you help it thrive, it's going to help you thrive by producing food. A healthy soil that's really a well-balanced soil that has the right fungal to bacterial ratios won't actually grow weeds, because the weeds aren't in that kind of successional period within the soil. And I'm going to get way more into this in future videos. I'm just kind of starting this introduction here, but having the soil is so important, and I just can't stress out. It's hard for me to even think about how to stress that enough. Building soil is one of the best things you can do, and anyone can do it. And I'm here to help you do that. So please ask any questions you have, leave a comment, leave a question. I will answer you. I'm looking through the YouTube videos, especially now, it's new. I want to get the feedback. I want to hear what you guys like, what you don't like. I know I need to stop saying as much. That was noted to me by Katie. I also note it myself every time I'm editing the video. I'm like, stop saying stop saying stop saying But that's just, it's part of the learning process. And I'm okay sharing all that with you, because I'm here for you guys. I'm here to help you. So if you have questions, ask them. One thing you can do for me is, if you do like what I'm doing here and you like the channel, please subscribe and please like the channel, and please share it with anyone else who might gain benefit from it, gain value from it, because the more subscriptions I can get on YouTube, the more potential I have to reach a bigger audience. And that's really what I want to do, reach a big audience and share this knowledge so that you guys can grow your own food, and you guys can build your own soil in your own backyard, anywhere in the world.